do this. Let's check the YouTubes, make sure we got a good, solid connection. It says it's live. I don't see a video yet, though. Hey, look at that. We do have connection. Nice. All right. Got audio, got video. Just going to adjust the camera just a hair. Make sure that I got a good line of sight. Sometimes I've kind of got I stand. I'm like at a standing desk, but I've got this like piano bench that I sometimes lean on. Kind of just keeps me from standing for, I don't know, 10 hours a day. But kind of watching the playback here really fast, and yeah, framing's good there. All right, so we've got a busy day today. Obviously some early meetings kind of push this out a little further. But as I said in the Discord channel, I'm going to be doing some lunchtime recording today. So we've got let's see, Heather, Luigi, not Tejal, sorry, Abby and Eddie in here. So we've got four different students. A lot of this work is stuff that if you're following along, you've probably seen in some other, almost everything that's here is in a second or third iteration. So if you've been following along, you're going to see some similar work, and you're going to see some stuff that has modified today. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started so that we can get to it, because we got a lot of stuff to go through. Greetings one and all, Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatics, time for the feedback loop. So good to have you back along. If you are following the channel, or maybe you're just discovering this for the first time, please click that subscribe button so you'll be notified whenever we go live. We do this quite often. Today we're doing it a little later, but if you're watching the replay, that won't matter to you. But we do have a number of students in here today. We've got Eddie, we've got Heather, we've got Abby and Luigi, all work all in different spaces. Some of it's UX, some of it's interface, some of it's portfolio based. So we're going to be going a little bit all over the map. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. All right, so I'm going to start here with Abby, and it's kind of like weird. It's like, what sort of design challenge is this? Abby's writing her case study. And when you're writing a case study, I oftentimes, especially if you're writing it for the first time, I encourage people to begin by kind of outlining what is it that you need to cover. Because if you don't do that, you could write on and on and on and on for seemingly forever and end up missing some things. So Abby has gone through, and we picked out the things that she missed, and then she began adding color here. And as you can see, she's been kind of in and out of this file for a little while. So round 2, she began adding color, and we are down here now on round, I want to say round 3. Yeah, so we're down here on round 3, and she's begun to really layer in more details to the project. She did have some very specific questions, and that's where I'm going to focus our feedback here. I'll go through and do a more in-depth dig on this, but she had some questions. Would I include photos of the persona cards that I made? And some people do. Some people. So I'll show you a couple different ways that you might handle that. So first of all, I'll show you Maddie. So let's go to Maddie's. Well, where would that be? Actually, you know, we'll go to let's take a look at Eve's. I'm just trying to think of who else has well, not Eve portfolio. Gosh, what was Eve's? Oh, there it is, Evelyn Turner. So Eve, if you go into her, so we'll go into her case study, but more importantly, we're going to go look at her process, and that's the second piece of this. When you look at her process doc, she has, let's see here. So she like included like the very specific, like these are the files that she created. The one thing I'll point out here is you can't necessarily read these, so they're basically proof that work happened. They are not the finished body of work. It's not like you can really read into this, and if it goes mobile, you can't read it at all. So what I encourage a lot of people to do, and we'll go to Melanie. So Melanie here, she worked on her, here's a case study for Handy, and actually Handy might not have that. So let's go to, well, that's universal sign-in. These are, oh yeah, and they're password protected, so I don't want to take you that direction. Let's go to, who can we go to? We'll go to Ben. So Ben, so we'll view his case study really fast. Ben wrapped his user personas up like this, and basically it was just like, hey, I talked to some people and here's what they told me, and it was like a paragraph. So Ben was taking this where he really like shrunk everything down, and I'm going to do everything I can to get you to the actual visual solution as fast as I can, rather than focusing much time at all on the execution of the step-by-step case study. Eve's approach is kind of the flip of that, and here with Eve, and you're looking at her health eats, it's very much, I'm going to introduce the problem, and then I'm going to ditch you off as fast as I can to the individual design, to the design process, which is what you're writing. And here she included those bits. There are other ways to, it's on down here. There are other ways to handle this as well. You could surface out, and Tegel comes to mind. So if we look at Tegel's case study for, let's go to idea board. So she's got this idea board. You go into her personas. She actually built her personas in HTML and CSS. So this is responsive. If we take a look at it, you can see that it's already responding. It comes down too far, turns into that, and it kind of collapses down into a longer form. And I don't think, yeah, there we go. So you get an idea of how this shape really can change if it's done responsively. If you look back at, well, it won't take us back to Eve's because that isn't here nor there. But as far as like, what do you include photos? You can, but you got to be aware that like if that goes responsive, you already can't read it if it's in the desktop because it's small, and then if it goes mobile, you can't read it at all. So it's just like a proof that it exists. So ask yourself, am I supposed to be showing, is the content important to read or not? Down here, maybe visual of original simple list in Google Sheets and on round one, and photo brainstorm I did in the Figma file. So this is user stories, and I think that's fine. I do like the idea that you kind of you're showing your iterations here, and I think that's important. You're the whole thing about showing your process is not what did I produce, but how did I come up with what I produced. And that's what I hear over and over again from hiring managers is, I don't understand how you got here. And for everybody that says, well, your case study is too long, that's why we're splitting this into give me an encapsulated version of the case study and then link to this deeper process doc. So this process doc, if it's really long, that's fine. You've done what you can to protect people from, oh God, your case study's so long. Yeah, that's why I split off the process. So you can like, the process is a whole different thing, and yeah, it's in depth, but guess what? Now you have a place to like add all the color that's necessary. So I think that works really well. Let's see here. just writing down the steps, but thought this could be a side-by-side more. Is it style, since I am not sure how to get the full flow of the visual while still being visible? Okay, I think that's a great question. You're talking about the checkout in order example. What section? Okay, so this is flows. Yeah, I think that this is a situation where what you may find, a lot. So we'll take back up over here to Ben real fast. So Ben, like these are Ben's flows that he created. You can actually click here. He's made this hoverable. You can click and go view the full flows somewhere else. And I oftentimes encourage people to because flows can be so big, why don't we use them in the background to say, here are the flows? And then if you want to view the flows, that's an even deeper step, because you need to be able to zoom in on these things, because you can't really study a flow if it's given to you at one size. So I've always kind of leaned on, like, I think the way that Ben did it was actually pretty smart. You use those flows as an architectural element of the page. Visual of the map. Yes, story mapping. I think that a lot of people struggle to understand what story mapping is, but once they see it, they get it. It's like, oh, it's a board, and you're like figuring out when you're going to do the tasks. That makes perfect sense. People get that. But when you hear story mapping, it's hard to visualize, because it's not, story mapping as a thing, it's a relatively new term to use. So prototype, explain more things. User testing analysis. So I'm not sure what you mean by explain more things. Okay. So language confusion, working through suggestions, types of tests that you ran, wireframes prototype. Okay. So I think here it's basically, when you're showing your analysis, it might be just to kind of highlight, take a visual of where the trouble was, and kind of highlight, and then you can annotate and say, A, language confusion, B, won't help project to success. And you basically are going through and annotating the visuals that you've included, so that it's not like if you just put a visual up there and left all this content below it, it would be hard for people to kind of identify what you're talking about. But if you highlighted on the visual what was connected with language confusion, or you highlighted on like one visual has a highlight, and that's maybe underneath it is language confusion. Another visual has on it, some process suggestions, and you've highlighted that specific element. I think that can be a way that you could layer in visuals that don't add confusion, and that's the real key here. Like if you just throw in visuals but you don't show how they're connected to the copy, that could be an issue. But I do think that, like, you clearly you're not finished with your analysis down here. This could go a bit deeper. All right. So also, Abby had some updates on her branding, and the problem I had with this before, Abby, is and if you're looking at this and you're kind of questioning what it is, it might help to know that this project is related to a grocery store. Once you understand that it's related to the grocery store, if you haven't spent any time in a grocery store, you might not recognize what this thing is, but it is a pull ticket that is used at deli counters and anywhere that you're getting service in the grocery store that says, I'm next, basically. But she's put a carrot on it. And I think that this is a much better version of what you had initially. Your initial version was this line drawing of a carrot. And my biggest worry was what happens when this shrinks down in size to something like that. And even now it's kind of hard to read. And I think that, but I think that this comes across more like a little bird. It's not, especially like when I'm far away, it's almost like a butterfly. I think what you're looking for here is, and I'll just grab this really fast and copy it over. I think what you're looking for ultimately is going to be a subtraction, and somehow I lost the shape. It must be how that shape is drawn. Let's take a look at it. Let's back that up a bit. I'm not fully understanding. Oh, it's like you've drawn over the top of it. Okay. So what I'm actually wanting to do is I'm wanting to make that a complete selection. I'm going to flatten that selection. So now that's like one thing. And here, now what I really want to do is I want to subtract that. And, I could also, I'm just going to turn, oh, that's weird. There's like this additional, there it is. I'm going to just, well, I was going to hide that. Is that stroke? It looks like stroke, but it's weird I can't hide it. So I'm just going to turn it off. This, to me, I think the carrot could be a bit smaller. So now that we know that how that's being made, what I might suggest is, okay, so we've got the carrot shape. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. I would then shrink the carrot down because I don't think the carrot needs to be as big as it was before. And then I would reverse it out. So subtract. And now this shape, if I have a color go behind it, I've got a uniform, and I should do this. I'm being stupid. There we go. Now this is uniform, so regardless of what I put in the background, it's going to shine through. I don't have to worry about a different color. And I think that ultimately, like, you could have that color pop if you want it to, but when this gets really small, you're going to want to have that shine through, much like you've done over here. Like, this works great. And do you have the color pop? Don't you have the color pop? It's up to you. I think the best thing that you've done, though, is you've taken the detail out of the carrot. And again, for those that haven't seen what that is, like, this was the original carrot that she had, and it was just too detailed for the size where this logo is going to be used. So I think simplification of that is smart. I would even look at simplifying it down even further so that it could be replicated at small sizes. But that's, I think you're definitely on the right track there. I would keep in that direction. I don't think there's a lot more for you to do here. Okay, so with that said, that's Abby. Let's take a look at Eddie. Eddie has dropped in some updates, and if we come through and look at these updates, I'm going to put this in prototype mode. What I'm looking for from Eddie was a consistency on his transitions here. So we've got, all right, so you're going with the blue, and you've got the line, blue and line. I think that, so Eddie, you're definitely getting closer to what I was talking about. Couple of things though. If I was going to simplify this, I would probably make these the same height. I would make these the same weight. So like this button and this button are secondary elements. They're secondary buttons, but they are the same weight, the same height. That's going to give you a simpler build. It's like primary button, secondary button. What's this? It's a secondary button, so it looks like that one. Everything else here is fine though. Let's come back over here to the prototype. Nope, not that one. This one. Let's come back over here. Let's move the prototype over. I'm now looking for consistency in how this is working. So that goes dark. The hover is light, goes dark, right? Okay. So what's happening here? The hover is light and goes dark. Okay. This is what I was looking for. Yesterday, when we saw this, the colors were reversed in one setting in the nav bar, and then the opposite on the button. I'm just looking for if it's hovering, and we're saying it's going to go brighter. That's great, not a big deal. When we click on it, it goes dark. I have no particular concern there. All I'm looking for is, so now I'm hovering on Teams. It went bright. When I click on it, it goes dark. I just want consistency in that interaction. Okay. Let's come back over here. Let's go to part 2. So that part was fine. This color choice thing, all I was saying yesterday, I like the color, I like the underline, all that. I was just saying it should be the same color. Like instead of being this random purple or this blue, I think it just should be the same blue. Like I like the fact that you're using blue. I'm just looking for it to be consistent. That's all. Let's go to part 3. So part 3, we had a lot of back and forth. So Eddie's been given this. He's doing the checkout flow here, and the trick here is okay. So I'm gonna place my order. Now Eddie has placed his order. The spacing is much better. I like the fact that the order details now has a consistent width that it lines up with the rest of the page. Yesterday it was kind of measured in for some reason, so I think that was probably just driving me nuts more than anything else, Eddie. But it feels more consistent now. I'm not sure what that is doing there. Probably a mistake. Let's come over here. So now this is, I'm going to cancel the order. It's interesting. Thank you. We received your order. Wait. No, we lost something. Oh, so okay. So what you did? Okay. So instead of canceling the order here, you're saying if you made this order by mistake, cancel order. So you've now said, "Oops, I made a mistake. Now I'm canceling order," which is kind of a modification on the exercise, but I see how you got here. So now the question here was, can we get consistent spacing on this? Yes, we've got that. I don't think that would really be there. I think this is your hand kind of wanding over it. So the spacing here is correct. Your order has been canceled. Now let's strike through. Yeah, this all works fine. This all works fine. The only trick here is, like, this could very easily, and it wouldn't shock me at all if Eddie did this in okay, so it wasn't in prototype mode. I was simply thinking that it could just as easily be from here over as it could be from here down. So these two, like if I hit cancel here or if I hit cancel here, I get the same basic page. Although what you see in the background wouldn't be the same, because I wouldn't be seeing a thank you if I canceled over here, because I would not have actually confirmed. I would not have finished the checkout, right? Okay. So that's Eddie, and I think Eddie, you've done a really good job there. I would move on. You're in component land now, so I think you're gonna do great there. So we've got prototype, we've got that. We've talked. Okay, so I gotta back up. Oh yes, of course. Let's talk about Heather. So Heather's been working through her user stories, and when we first gathered on this, Heather's user stories were very they were very much in line of, they were more epic. And they weren't, they were, you could use them for guidance of what you were writing the user story for. I want to play music with other people in person so that band will be easier and I have more fun again. That's like something that the persona might say, but it's not actionable as somebody actually building a product. So we worked together on this, and now you go from something like, I want to play music with other people in person, to I want to be able to sign up. I want to have the ability to see who else has signed up. I want to see how many spots are left in a session. Those are things that, as a user, I want, and as a designer or as an engineer or developer, I can actually begin to build something to address that problem. I can't address, I want to play music with other people in person. It's not something I can wrap my arms around, but I can definitely wrap my arms around, I want to see who else has signed up. I know what that is. As a designer, as a developer, I know I can begin to get there. Band teacher, I want a way to create, it should be / add a new session, create or add a session. I want to see who signed up. Like, these all make sense. You've gone through and you've also added in so that I can let students know when outdoor practices will be available, so that I can know which students I'm dealing with. These all make sense. You added some other tasks, though, that I want to focus on here, and I see some that they are still more guidance than action, but I think you've included them here to kind of paint the picture of why we're doing this. I want to see my friends to help with mental health. I can't design a solution for that. I want to do scientific experiments in person to reignite my passion and interest for STEM. Great. I can't begin to design that solution. I need to know more granular. I want to be able to sign up. That sounds like the band, but this is going to be different. I want to be able to see who else has signed up. I want a list of sessions. I want a list of where the sessions are. I want to know how long the sessions are. I want to know who's. So there's a couple of things that are interesting here. Sessions, how long the sessions are, what the weather forecast is, transportation options, who's leading the session, ability to leave feedback. I want to see what sessions I've attended. I want a map of businesses that are open nearby. That's all great. I really need to know what is being covered in that session. Particularly if these are ad hoc sessions where it's like I may show up for one session but not another. Like, what are we doing in that particular session? Maybe there are 3 sessions that are offered for mixing compounds, and there's another session that's offered for dissecting frogs. And I've already done the dissecting frogs. I don't want to attend another dissecting frog session. That could be a science session. I want to attend the mixing compounds. So that's something that I think is very important here in the scheduling. That's currently missing from this model. So from the science teacher, I'm interested to see if it's there. So here, I want to attach and display materials that go with each experiment. So it's being listed as something that the science teacher is going to provide. So I'm going to guess that it's intended that it show up. But we haven't said that this is something that needs to show up. So I think that that's like a, you've got what I was just asking for, but it's just not seen from both perspectives. It's seen from one perspective, and that's fine. I think that this is just kind of an overview, but this is kind of the thing that like, I actually worry more about it from the middle school student's perspective than I do from the science teacher, because if the middle school student says, I want to see what's being offered, but the science teacher hasn't been given controls to post what is being offered, then that's a bigger problem. If the science teacher's been given, if we've accommodated the science teacher's need to post things, then it's nothing. It's not a big problem to surface that for the middle school teacher because it's already in the database. We've already accommodated a way to get that information into the database. Now we just need a way to pipe it back out. So the miss here is the lesser of the concerns, but I would still want to see it. I still want to see it far more than I want to see my friends. But it's not as big of an issue. Let's see here. This is interesting. Parents want a safe place for my kids. That's again more of an epic. I want to see what sessions are available. I want to sign my kid up for sessions. I want to see a map where the sessions are. I want to receive messages, send and receive messages. I want to send and receive feedback. I want a list of sessions my child has attended. Keeping track of participation. Keeping track of participation is important in education because there are, that's important for the parent and that's important for the science teacher because there are all these funding guidelines, and I need to be able to say how many people were in a session if I'm applying for funding, or if I'm trying to meet state minimum requirements of some sort. I think that what you've done here, what you've identified here, are really good user stories to have for this particular product. So now I think, Heather, you're full speed in the user flows. I don't think there's anything that you should stop yourself from moving forward here. It feels like you're on the right path. So off in the user flows you go. Let's take one look at Luigi. So Luigi's been working on his. He's busy updating his portfolio. He works for Daily Pay, and things are going fine there. But as with anybody who is working through, you've got a job that's great. You never know what's going to happen in the world. I mean, none of us were waiting on COVID to happen, that's for sure. That's why it's always important to be updating your portfolio. Luigi, you pulled off the intro here, which I think is fine because you've got the intro down here. I do think that I would try to get web app. I'm not sure. This wrap here is pretty unfortunate, so I would try to, if you can't get it the wrap, I would say application, but I would much rather have that just on one line. I think this is fine. Problem, objective, final prototype. See the final prototype, design process. This is a lot better. Although now we've got, and this is the thing about these templates that come from Squarespace. It's like all this gaping space. It's like they couldn't be bothered to design things in a way that like space could be efficiently used. I do appreciate the fact that it's easier to like put something together really fast, but it's the fine tuning that I think is really necessary. So the space here is just a bit much. Right down to if they said if you had to get rid of this and it was just these four basically up here, that would be better. This space is just not great. View process details, challenges or observations. Let's go in here to view process details. Yep. This is much better. Yesterday it was like really small. Now I get a sense of what's going on. Intro, much better side by side there. Can't emphasize, like having this underneath was pretty poor. So surveys, user interviews. It's kind of funny. Key themes almost feels like it wants to be over here, but I'll leave it for now. Competitor testing. Now you've got the 4 there. Affinity diagram. Okay, so this is where we're getting into. You're adding in little intros for this, and here we have our handy dandy user personas. Somebody was asking about that earlier. I think it was Abby. Here's the story map, and now I get a much better sense of this. Actually gives me a pretty good sense of the scope, because when you're building this, it's very hard to see what you're building, and I'm not going to go all the way back up to the front, but when you're just looking at the home page it's hard to see the scope of the work that you did. When I see the prototype, I begin to dig a little deeper. I'm like, oh wow, you've done a lot of work here. There's a lot of stuff going on. But when we get down to here, it shows me that like there was some planning that happened along the way. This wasn't just, it wasn't just build a homepage. It wasn't just build a prototype. It was also the planning that went into the building the prototype. And I really think that that's where, if your Affinity map is oh, actually, was Affinity map up here? Yeah, the Affinity Diagram thing I think that's a big missing piece here for you right now, because the moment I see that Affinity Diagram and then I see the story mapping, it's going to really seem like this is all beginning to tether together. I think that's the missing piece right now for me. But I do appreciate the fact that now you're beginning to layer in some information about each of these paragraphs. I do want to take some time to go through and read these more in depth. But the fact that they're present now, and now you're telling me, here are the tasks that actually went through. The interesting thing here is, do you link to the prototype? I'm guessing this one down here is going to be the link to the prototype. And then the question is, after the link to the prototype, do you pull back in the project observations, but at the end of the process details? Because I don't think it's bad to go back and use that information again on this much longer piece. My biggest worry is like they don't make it back to the home page and they miss your big observations. So I think I would pick that back up and put it down here as well. Not moving it, duplicating it. Okay. But I think that this is definitely moving forward, especially liking seeing these more detail process pieces, visuals coming in, just missing a little bit right now. Okay, but I know this is in progress. I think it's made big improvements over the last 24 hours. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. I got to do the math in my head though. Have we covered everybody? Abby, yes. Heather, yes. Eddie, yes. Luigi, yes. So yeah, got them all covered. If these students, they sign up. They get one-on-one mentorship from me. We do daily feedback. We do weekly mentorship. If you're in a spot where you're looking to take your design growth up to the next level, I want you to give mentorship here at New Pragmatic a consideration. Just listen to what it's done for the students here at New Pragmatic. All right, folks, that's where the little commercial thing runs. I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to see Abby and Eddie here in about 90 minutes. So until then, for everybody else, I'll see you next week.